Friends, families, teachers, class of 2018. Welcome to Class Day. What they don't tell you about Class Day is how infinite it will feel. How you'll look around and lose yourself searching for your junior year sweetmates and sophomore year crushes. You'll hold up a telescope and count the crazy hats like they are stars. Like all the campus constellations you once populated have crossed together today. Here is the first professor who made you feel like you belonged here, and the two friends who walked you all the way back home that one night, even though they lived in TD. And the classmates who chanted with you on cross campus, and the sweetmates who stayed up so late with you, roasting that one Yale Daily News op-ed that you skipped class the next day. And your best friend pursuing her passion for theater next year at McKinsey & Company. What they don't tell you about Woolsey Hall is how quickly it can fill with joy. Perhaps this campus felt hollow at first, like 1,000 concentric orbits you would never fit into, until one day you found yourself on a dance floor in L-Dub or in a junior seminar texting the friend right next to you. And now, laughing with the upcoming speakers, you hear a heartbeat. I imagine there's an astrophysicist in another galaxy watching us today. There they are, she will say. They made it to the middle. How she will see the way we are celebrating and shining on this class day. How she will study the ways we keep our North Stars near, across the aisles today and across the seas and states next year. How she will marvel at all the light from Woolsey Hall and wonder what a universe those kids built. Congratulations, and help me welcome up our Class Day chairs, Josh and Alexis.
Welcome, class of 2018. Today is a day of celebration. We'll listen to our distinguished speaker, hear about the achievements of our brilliant classmates, and listen to contemplative reflections from our peers. We'll also celebrate a few class traditions, watch a commemorative class film, and cheer on our peers who receive awards. Most importantly, we will reminisce with our classmates about the Yale memories that will last a lifetime. When I reflect on my own years here, one of the first things that comes to mind is quite simply change. For many of us, coming to Yale itself was a radical change, from the cultures, norms, and ideas we know from back home. Many of us arrived here freshman year wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, thinking we had it all figured out. Years later, we know how much bigger and more complicated the world truly is. Before Yale, I had never met so many people who believed in certain ideals that were different from my own. But after 4 years here, I've learned to open my mind to alternative perspectives. We all have different beliefs and backgrounds, but as Yaleys, we all share a common identity, one that leads us to treat each other with decency and respect. This day is a day in which we celebrate one another together. Our program has been put together to interweave the many faces and voices of our class. When we wave our white handkerchiefs at the end of the program, we will do it together as Yaleys.
The change that our class has experienced extends beyond Yale. Our generation has been defined by the capacity of our technology and the incapacity of our institutions, by Fannie Mae, Facebook, and Ferguson. But just as our generation has been defined by the world, so will the world be defined by our generation. Young people are using our civic power. Students at Yale, led by women of color in this room, have demanded we achieve inclusion and justice on our campus. Youth from Baltimore to Parkland have marched on Washington. Students across borders and across communities possess a unique audacity to reimagine the axes on which our society spins. All it takes for this latent audacity to inflame is the spark of injustice. We've observed in our textbooks and in our streets that only daring dissent drives change. We are emboldened, not deterred, when we awake to find that the world for which preceding advocates have fought is not yet won. And we are roused by the rhetoric of those advocates, like our guest speaker this afternoon, who told graduates at Wellesley last year, "If you feel powerless, don't." Hillary Rodham Clinton served as the 67th U.S. Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. She was a U.S. Senator from New York from 2001 to 2009, and she served as First Lady for 8 years prior. Secretary Clinton received a BA from Wellesley College and a JD from Yale Law School. And, if you haven't heard, she is the first woman to be nominated by a major party for President of the United States. We welcome Secretary Clinton back to Yale, not simply because she served as a senator or as Secretary of State. We welcome her because she has driven so many of us to pursue the paths we've chosen for ourselves. Because she reminds us there is nobility in serving more than oneself. Because of her successes and her setbacks, for, in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, the credit belongs to the man or woman who is actually in the arena. Please join me in welcoming Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Thank you. Whoa. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Wow, I am so delighted to be here. Sorry we're not outside, but this makes it kind of cozy. I want to thank President Salovey and Dean Chun. Thank you, Alex, a Razorback fan from Little Rock, Arkansas, for getting us started on such a high note. Thanks to Alexis and Josh for your comments and your introduction. Thanks to all of the family and friends here today for allowing me to share this happy occasion. And good afternoon to everyone joining us by live stream from around campus. But most of all, congratulations to the class of 2018. I am thrilled for all of you, even the 3 of you who live in Michigan and didn't request your absentee ballots in time. But before I go any further, I just want to be sure, did the students from the new colleges make it here? I worried that your flights might be delayed. Sorry, Franklin and Polly Murray, I heard you had a great first year. And I am honored that this class has invited me to be your speaker. Now, I see, looking out at you, that you are following the tradition of over-the-top hats. So I brought a hat, too. A Russian hat. Right? can't beat them, join them. You know, being here with you brings back a flood of memories. I remember the first time I arrived on campus as an incoming law student in the fall of 1969, wearing my bell-bottoms, driving a beat-up old car with a mattress tied to the roof. I had no idea what to expect. Now, to be honest, I had had some trouble making up my mind between Yale and Harvard law schools. Then one day, while we were still in that period of decision-making, I was invited to a cocktail party at Harvard for potentially incoming law students, where I met a famous law professor. A friend of mine, a male law student, introduced me to this famous law professor. I mean, truly, big three-piece suit, watch chain. And my friend said, Professor, this is Hillary Rodham. She's trying to decide whether to come here next year or sign up with our closest competitor. Now, the great man gave me a cool, dismissive look and said, well, first of all, we don't have any close competitors. And secondly, we don't need any more women at Harvard. Now, I was leaning toward Yale anyway, but that pretty much sealed the deal. And when I came to Yale, I was one of 27 women out of 235 law students. It was the first year women were admitted to the college. And as that first class of women prepared to graduate 4 years later, the New York Times reported on Yale's foray into coeducation, noting that the women, quote, worked harder and got somewhat better grades than the 940 men graduating with them, a fact, they went on to say, that some of the men apparently found threatening. Well, I was shocked. But over the years, Yale has been a home away from home for me, a place I've returned to time and again. I spoke to Class Day back in 2001 on the 300th anniversary of the university. And I hope that that will be the case for many of you as well. This school has been responsible for some of my most treasured friends and colleagues, people like Jake Sullivan and Harold Coe, and I've watched some of you grow up, like Rebecca Shaw, who's graduating today, and you'll hear from shortly. And I've been honored to serve over the last year or two, working with some of the Yale Law School faculty, including the new dean, Heather Gerken. Now, Yale grads, many of whom are also here today, have worked for me in the United States Senate, the State Department, on my presidential campaigns, and I have been so well served. I have a very dedicated campaign intern here graduating, David Scheimer, the class of 2018. But I have to confess, of all the formative experiences I had at Yale, perhaps none was more significant than the day during my second year when I was cutting through what was then the student lounge with some friends. And I saw this tall, handsome guy with a beard who looked like a Viking. I said to my friend, well, who is that? And she said, well, that's Bill Clinton. He's from Arkansas, and that's all he ever talks about. And then as if on cue, I hear him saying, and not only that, we grow the biggest watermelons in the world. And I was like, who is this person? But, you know, he kept looking at me, and I kept looking back. And so we were in the law library one night. I was studying. But I couldn't help but see, you know, occasionally as I lifted my head up, that he was, again, looking at me. So finally I thought, this is ridiculous. So I got up, went over to him, and I said, if you're going to keep looking at me and I'm going to keep looking back, we at least ought to be introduced. I'm Hillary Rodham. Who are you? And that started a conversation that continues to this day. Now, it was also here at Yale that I saw a flyer in the law school on a bulletin board that changed my life. Now, some of your parents and grandparents may remember flyers and bulletin boards. For the rest of you, suffice it to say, that was how we got information. It was like Facebook, but the bulletin board didn't steal your personal information. So, one day, I saw a note about a woman named Marian Wright Edelman, a Yale Law School graduate, civil rights activist, who would go on to found the Children's Defense Fund. Marian was coming back to campus to give a lecture. I went. I was captivated to hear her talk about using her Yale education to create a Head Start program in rural Mississippi. And I wound up working for her that summer, and the experience opened my eyes to the ways that the law can protect children or come up short. Because like many of you, I learned just as much outside the four walls of the classroom as I did sitting in a lecture hall. And I discovered a passion that has animated my life and my work ever since. Now, a lot has changed since I was here. In 2019, Yale will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the matriculation of women at the college and the 150th anniversary of the first women graduate students at Yale. And I heard that Yale officially changed the term freshman to first year. I also heard, amazingly, that the Duke's men and the Whiffenpoofs have started welcoming women. Now, as for my long-lost Whiffs audition tape, I have buried it so deep, not even WikiLeaks will be able to find it. Because if you thought my emails were scandalous, you should hear my singing voice. I find it very exciting that today's graduates hail from all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, and 56 other countries. And in your 4 years on campus, you've survived late nights in the Bass cubicles and early mornings in the Sterling stacks. You've trekked up Science Hill. Maybe you've even found love at the Last Chance dance. And now you're ready to take on your next adventure. But maybe some of you are reluctant to leave. I understand that. It's possible to feel both. Because the class of 2018 is graduating at one of the most tumultuous times in the history of our country. And I say that as someone who graduated in the 60s. I recently went back and looked up those famous lines from Charles Dickens in A Tale of Two Cities because, I usually end after saying it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But it goes on. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. Now, Dickens was writing about the years leading up to the French Revolution, but he could have been describing the ricocheting highs and lows of this moment in America. We're living through a time when fundamental rights, civic virtue, freedom of the press, even facts and reason are under assault like never before. But we are also witnessing an era of new moral conviction, civic engagement, and a sense of devotion to our democracy and country. So here's the good news. If any group were ever prepared to rise to the occasion, it is you, the class of 2018. You've already demonstrated the character and courage that will help you navigate this tumultuous moment. And most of all, you've demonstrated resilience. Now that's a word that's been on my mind a lot recently. One of my personal heroes, Eleanor Roosevelt, said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along." Well, that's resilience. And it's so important because everyone Everyone gets knocked down. What matters is whether you get back up and keep going. This may be hard for a group of Yale's soon-to-be graduates to accept, but yes, you will make mistakes in life. You will even fail. It happens to all of us, no matter how qualified or capable we are. Take it from me. Oh, I remember those first months after that 2016 election were not easy. We all had our own methods of coping. I went for long walks in the woods. Yale students went for long walks in East Rock Park. I spent hours going down a Twitter rabbit hole. You spent hours in the Yale memes group. I had my fair share of Chardonnay. You had penny drinks at Wode's. I practiced yoga and alternate nostril breathing. You took psych and the good life. And let me just get this out of the way. No, I'm not over it. I still think about the 2016 election. I still regret the mistakes I made. I still think, though, that understanding what happened in such a weird and wild election in American history will help us defend our democracy in the future. Whether you're right, left, center, Republican, Democrat, independent, vegetarian, whatever. We all have a stake in that. So today, as a person, I'm okay, but as an American, I'm concerned. You know, personal resilience is important, but it's not the only form of resilience we need right now. We also need community resilience. That's something that this class has embodied during your time on campus. Literally at times, like in the March of Resilience your sophomore year. It was the biggest demonstration in the history of the school. That's 300 plus years. Led by women of color, supported by students and faculty, determined to make Yale a more just, equitable, and safe place for everyone. Many of you have said that March was a defining moment in your college experience, and that says something about this class and your values. Because the truth is, our country is more polarized than ever. We have sorted ourselves into opposing camps, and that divides how we see the world. The data backs this up. There are more liberals and conservatives than there used to be, and fewer centrists. Our political parties are more ideologically and geographically consistent, which means there are fewer Northern Republicans and fewer Southern Democrats. And the divides on race and religion are starker than ever before. And as the middle shrank, partisan animosity grew. Now, I'm not going to get political here, but this isn't simply a both sides problem. The radicalization of American politics hasn't been symmetrical. There are leaders in our country who blatantly incite people with hateful rhetoric, who fear change, who see the world in zero-sum terms, so that if others are gaining, well, they must be losing. That's a recipe for polarization and conflict. Our social fabric is fraying, and the bonds of community that hold us together are fractured. This isn't just a problem because it leads to unpleasant conversations over the Thanksgiving dinner table. It's a problem because it undermines the civic spirit that makes democracy possible, the habits of the heart that de Tocqueville found so unique in the American character. I believe healing our country is going to take what I call radical empathy. As hard as it is, this is a moment to reach across divides of race, class, and politics, to try to see the world through the eyes of people very different from ourselves, and to return to rational debate, to find a way to disagree without being disagreeable, to try to recapture a sense of community and common humanity. When we think about politics and judge our leaders, we can't just ask, am I better off than I was 2 years or 4 years ago? We have to ask, are we all better off? Are we as a country better, stronger, and fairer? That's something you've done here at Yale. You've learned that you don't need to be an immigrant to be outraged when a classmate's father, a human being who contributes to his family and his country, is unjustly deported. You don't need to be a person of color to understand that when Black students feel singled out and targeted, we still have work to do. And you don't need to experience gun violence to know that when a teenager in Texas who just survived a mass shooting says she's not surprised by what happened at her school because, and I quote, "I've always felt like eventually it was going to happen here too." We are failing our children. So enough is enough. We need to come together, and we certainly need common sense gun safety legislation as soon as we can get it. Now, empathy should not only be at the center of our individual lives, our families, and our communities, it should be at the center of our public life, our policies, and our politics. I know we don't always think of politics and empathy as going hand in hand, but they can, and more than that, they must. As former Secretary Madeleine Albright writes in her terrific new book, Fascism, A Warning, she says, "This generosity of spirit, this caring about others and about the proposition that we are all created equal, is the single most effective antidote to the self-centered moral numbness that allows fascism to thrive." And of course, Madeleine had personal experience fleeing the Nazis in Czechoslovakia as a baby, returning after the war, fleeing the communists as a young girl. Now that brings me to one more form of resilience that's been on my mind over the last year, democratic resilience. In 1787, after the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin, who, by the way, received an honorary degree from Yale, was asked by a woman in the street outside Independence Hall, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" And Franklin answered, "A republic, if you can keep it." Right now, we're living through a full-fledged crisis in our democracy. Now, there are not tanks in the streets, but what's happening right now goes to the heart of who we are as a nation. And I say this not as a Democrat who lost an election, but as an American afraid of losing a country. There are certain things that are so essential they should transcend politics. Waging a war on the rule of law and a free press, delegitimizing elections, perpetrating shameless corruption, and rejecting the idea that our leaders should be public servants undermines our national unity. And attacking truth and reason, evidence and facts should alarm us all. You and your parents have just paid for a first-class, world-class education. And as Yale history professor Timothy Snyder writes in his book on tyranny, to abandon facts is to abandon freedom. If nothing is true, then no one can criticize power because there is no basis upon which to do so. If nothing is true, then all is spectacle. I think Professor Snyder, both in that book and in his new one, The Road to Unfreedom, is sounding the alarm as loudly as he can. Because attempting to erase the line between fact and fiction, truth and reality, is a core feature of authoritarianism. The goal is to make us question logic and reason and to sow mistrust toward exactly the people we need to rely on: our leaders, the press, experts who seek to guide public policy based on evidence, even ourselves. Just this week, former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said, "If our leaders seek to conceal the truth or we as people become accepting of alternative realities that are no longer grounded in facts, then we as American citizens are on a pathway to relinquishing our freedom. Perhaps a tad late, but he's absolutely right. So how do we build democratic resilience? I think it starts with standing up for truth, facts, and reason, not just in the classroom and on campus, but every day in our lives. It means speaking out about the vital role of higher education in our society to create opportunity and equality. It means calling out actual fake news when we see it, and supporting brave journalists and their reporting, maybe even by subscribing to a newspaper. Now, most of all, as obvious as it seems, it means voting in every election, not just the presidential ones. So yes, these are challenging times for America, but we've come through challenging times before. You know, I think back to the night Barack Obama was elected president. Many of us, so many of us were jubilant. Even I, who had once hoped to beat him, was ecstatic. It was such a hopeful moment. And yet in some ways, this moment feels even more hopeful, because this is a battle-hardened hope, tempered by loss and clear-eyed about the stakes. We are standing up to policies that hurt people. We are standing up for all people being treated with dignity. We are doing the work to translate those feelings into action. And the fact that some days it is really hard to keep at it just makes it that much more remarkable that so many of us are, in fact, keeping at it. It's not easy to wade back into the fight every day, but we're doing it. And that's why I am optimistic, because of how unbelievably tough Americans are proving to be. I've encountered lots of people in recent months who give me hope. The Parkland students who endured unthinkable tragedy and have responded with courage and resolve. The leaders and groups I've gotten to know through Onward Together, an organization I started after the election to encourage the outpouring of grassroots engagement that we're seeing. Everyone who is marching, registering voters, and diving into the issues facing us like never before, some for the very first time in their lives. And I find hope in the wave of women running for office and winning, and hope in the women and men who are dismantling the notion that women should have to endure harassment and violence as a part of our lives. So we have a long way to go. There are many fights to fight, and more seem to arise every day. It will take work to keep up the pressure, to stay vigilant, to neither close our eyes nor numb our hearts or throw up our hands and say, someone else take over from here. Because at this moment in our history, our country depends on every citizen believing in the power of their actions, even when that power is invisible and their efforts feel like an uphill battle. Of every citizen voting in every election, even when your side loses. It is a matter of infinite faith, this faith we have in the ability to govern ourselves, to come together, to make honorable, practical compromise in the pursuit of ends that will lift us all up and move us forward. So yes, we need to pace ourselves, but also lean on each other, look for the good wherever we can, celebrate heroes, encourage children, find ways to disagree respectfully. We need to be ready to lose some fights, because we will. As John McCain recently reminded us, no just cause is futile, even if it's lost. What matters is to keep going, no matter what, keep going. The Yale you're graduating from is very different from the Yale I graduated from. It's different even from the Yale that welcomed you 4 years ago. 4 years ago, not one of Yale's colleges was named after a woman. Today, students are carrying on the legacy of a trailblazing LGBT civil rights activist at Pauli Murray College and celebrating one of Yale's own hidden figures at Grace Hopper College, named after the naval officer who happened to be one of the first computer programmers in America. Those changes didn't happen on their own. You made them possible. You kept fighting, you kept the faith, and because of that, in the end, you changed Yale as much as Yale changed you. And now it's time for you to make your mark on the world. I know the best for you, for Yale, and for America is yet to come, and you each will have a role to play and a contribution to make. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2018.
Secretary Clinton, thank you so much for honoring us today. Your distinguished service has made the world better for all, especially the vulnerable. And today, your words have inspired this outstanding group of young leaders to continue your honorable work. I have a few announcements to make. First, I apologize that the Weather Channel got hacked by the Russians. First, I do want to thank you all, students and guests, for your really gracious understanding about the weather situation and forecast. Preparations for this event required us to make a decision yesterday or risk the event being canceled altogether. And so, not wanting to bear that risk, we moved the venue here. I hope all of you have found this a good viewing place for the event. And fortunately, tomorrow's weather looks really, really good. Okay, I do have some other business to share with you, but first I need to ask the following students to come up to the seats in the front row over here. So when I call out your name, please start coming up over here. Jen Berkowitz of Saybrook College. Junyan Chua of Saybrook College. Junyan Chua of Saybrook College. They'll cheer later. I'll give you a chance to cheer later. Okay. Ivedi Estepan of Pearson College. Mary Chandler Gwynn of Saybrook College. Lionel Jin of Grace Hopper College. Haley McConna Kushi of Timothy Dwight College. Martin Lim of Berkeley College. Erica Lynn Green of Grace Hopper College. Maisie Louise Mattia of Brantford College. Ben Reeves of Berkeley College. Patrick Sullivan of Jonathan Edwards College. So as you come up, we also have another thing for all of us. We need to do a little dress rehearsal for tomorrow. At commencement on Old Campus in sunny weather, there's going to be a point where I stand up on the podium in front of President Sullivan and present you to him so that you can receive your degrees. So there's a part for you to play. The last two sentences of my request to President Sullivan are going to be as follows. They have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you by your official act to confer upon them these degrees. Okay, and those are the two key words, these degrees. Because when you hear those two words, confer upon them these degrees, I want you to be excited about that and show the university and all your guests how excited that you are about graduating. So we'll get to practice a little bit here. So I'm going to just read out that quote, and when I say these degrees, you kind of, do your thing. They have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. I think you can do better than that. We'll try again. I'll read out the sentence and then let's see what you can. Remember, Old Campus is really big, so it's not going to be as echoey as this room is. So let's try this again. Pretend you're on Old Campus. Okay, they have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. Okay, great. Okay, I think we're ready. I look forward to seeing. I'll be coming up again, but thank you.
Congratulations, class of 2018. You are the most highly decorated class in the history of Yale athletics. I would like to ask Jen Berkowitz and Ben Reeves to please come to the stage. It is my honor to award to the female and male outstanding athlete the Nellie Elliott Award for the female and the William Mallory Award for the male. Jen Berkowitz, the Nellie Elliott Award winner, is a first-team All-Ivy selection. She's a leading scorer and rebounder on the Yale team for the past 2 years. 1,000-point scorer, had the best field goal percentage in the Ivy League for the past 2 years. She's helped the Yale team to the best season in school history. The Bulldogs won this year's Women's Basketball Invitational, the first postseason championship ever in the Ivy League. Jen is an honors student in pre-med and plans to go to medical school. Congratulations, Jen. The William Mallory Award winner, Ben Reeves, is the leading scorer in the 100-plus year history of Yale lacrosse. He's the captain of the team. He's a first-team All-Ivy performer for 3 consecutive years and was twice the Ivy League Player of the Year. He's a finalist 3 consecutive years for the Tewarton Award, which is the nation's best player. He has led Yale to 49 wins, the most ever. He is an honors student as well in molecular cellular developmental biology. But before he begins that next chapter in his life, he and his teammates will be heading to the national championship, the Final Four, at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Congratulations, Ben. Congratulations, Ben. Thank you very much. Great job.
Director Beckett, could you please stay standing for one more minute? In honor of your 24 years of service to Yale, we have a special tribute for you.
Beckett, Beckett, bow wow wow, thanks from Yale. Beckett, Beckett, bow wow wow, you helped us all prevail. On the field, the court, the pool, and the ice, and where we row and sail. Beckett, Beckett, bow wow wow, thanks and hail.
Eveti Estepan and Haley Makanakushi, please come up to the stage. The Nakanishi Prize is awarded to 2 graduating seniors who, while maintaining high academic achievement, have provided exemplary leadership in enhancing race or ethnic relations at Yale College. This year's prizes are awarded to Eveti Estepan of Pearson College and Haley Makanakushi of Timothy Dwight College. Eveti Estepan is a fierce advocate for justice, whose scholarship and service cut across lines of racial and ethnic identity. As a double major in African American Studies and ethnicity, race, and migration, Eveti has explored Afro-Latinx identity and patterns of migration in the Caribbean. As one of the head organizers for Next Yale, she helped plan the March of Resilience in fall of 2015, bringing together the Yale community to focus on solidarity, unity, and student impact. And as a multicultural peer liaison, co-head peer liaison, and intersectionality committee chair for both the Afro-American Cultural Center and La Casa, she has mentored her younger peers as they navigated their own pathways through Yale. She has already received multiple awards, and now, to recognize these accomplishments, Yale College is honored to bestow the Nakanishi Prize upon Eveti Estepan. Haley Makanakushi is a scholar and leader who has advocated for her Hawaiian community and for Native voices more broadly. An ethnicity, race, and migration major who has studied settler colonialism in her home of Hawaii, she has engaged and challenged the Yale community on issues of cultural appropriation. She has written about the experiences of American Indians and Pacific Islanders, and she has brought a global perspective on colonialism and indigeneity to the Native American Cultural Center. As the president of the Association of Native Americans at Yale, Haley revived the Yale Powwow after a 10-year dormancy, establishing it as an annual event, and she hosted the Henry Rowe Cloud Alumni Conference, bringing generations of Native alumni back to Yale. After graduation, she will pursue a PhD in American Studies at Brown University. For these contributions and for her commitment to this community, Yale College is honored to bestow the Nakanishi Prize upon Haley Makanakushi. Patrick Sullivan, will you please come up to the stage? The James Andrew Haas Prize is awarded annually to that member of the senior class in Yale College whose breadth of intellectual achievement, strength of character, and fundamental humanity shall be adjudged by the faculty to have provided leadership for his or her fellow students inspiring in them a love of learning and concern for others. This year, the Haas Prize is awarded to Patrick Sullivan of Jonathan Edwards College. Patrick Sullivan graduates with distinction in his major, American Studies, a communication and consent educator, a foot leader, and a Dwight Hall Urban Fellow. He has devoted himself through critical inquiry and communication to promoting an equitable society. He has served with the Yale Undergraduate Prison Project for 4 years, tutoring and mentoring incarcerated people, and he has co-founded the Connecticut Bail Bond Fund to address injustice in the criminal system, the first of its kind in Connecticut and one of the few models of bail relief in the nation. After graduation, Patrick will continue this work, expanding the program around the country. For his outstanding academic achievements and his impressive record of public service and commitment to prison reform, Yale College is proud to bestow the James Andrew Haas Memorial Prize upon Patrick Kirkham Sullivan.
For the first time this past August, I walked through the heavy gates of the towering red brick and stone castle on Prospect Street into the lush green courtyard of my new home, Pauli Murray College. Here, I was given a chance at recreating my life at Yale. As a first year, I often felt alone. For the first time in my life, I grew sharply aware of my difference. But this year was different. Now, as a first-year counselor in Pauli Murray's inaugural year, I was charged with creating a home for first years that would welcome them for who they are. I exchanged the regret I felt in years past for newfound hope. The hope that my Froco team and I would shape Pauli Murray into the home we've always wanted. I tried to imagine how Pauli Murray would tackle this challenge. Murray defied state segregation laws by sitting at the front of public buses. She coined the term Jane Crow to describe the unfair treatment she received at Howard Law, where she was the only woman in her entire class. Murray was a women's rights activist, a poet, a civil rights organizer, an Episcopal priest, and the first African-American woman to earn a JD at Yale Law. Her multifaceted identity gave her a keen ability to simultaneously experience differences and connections among the communities she inhabited. She argued that true community is based upon equality, mutuality, and reciprocity. It affirms the richness of individual diversity as well as the common human ties that binds us together. Murray broke barriers to create a home for the marginalized in the United States. I wanted to do the same in my new college. My Froco team consisted of a math whiz, 2 whiffs, a future Hollywood film director, a political philosopher, and me, the son of 2 teachers, a Texan and a Mexican immigrant, who sacrificed it all to send their kid to the Ivy League. We decided that when the first years arrived, we would help them explore their differences by encouraging them to tell their stories, rather than papering over them for the sake of comfort. The first 2 weeks of school, we awkwardly sat in a circle each night for our nightly FROCO meetings, and we soon realized that our kids came from all over the world, from unique families who were each quirky in their own ways. Some of them spoke with a Southern twang, others in chill West Coast lingo. The next meeting, they each wrote down anonymously their greatest anxieties about the new year and passed their note cards around for their peers to read. Many of these anxieties were informed by their divergent personal experiences. But by articulating and not shying away from these differences, they understood their peers for the complex human beings they are. They also realized that in spite of their differences, many of them shared the same fears. Yes, they were different, but in many ways they were also the same. Though the work required to build true community may be daunting at times, we learned that it is worth it because the outcome is harmony. I felt harmony when the FROCOs and I gathered the first years in the courtyard to share the new college chants they created. We proudly shouted into the air what would someday become tradition. Then we linked arms and cheered Murray's name. Now, this feeling is not unique to our college. I'm sure you felt it too. Running behind your flag on Old Campus in first year's Olympics, in the collective breaths of musicians striking their first note, the silent hum of a study group, an intense focus, or the powerful rhythm of a team running in unison. Participation in a community like a residential college permanently changes us. Our conversations extend the scope of our perspective, reveal new possibilities of existence, and showcase the richness of our reality. The alternative to this all is disharmony. It's the discord we see in America today, as legislators and citizens alike cease to listen or trust one another. When our stories fall on closed ears, stereotypes pervade. Fake news distorts our reality. A cacophony of screaming voices silences reason. The example of Mary's words and the example of Murray College ought to resonate in our hearts. In a time in which our country stands so divided, we must find what binds us and hold fast to it. Wherever we end up, we must build a home with love, curiosity, and courage. Thank you, class of 2018, and congratulations.
Mary Chandler Gwynn and Maisie Louise Mattia, could you please come up to the stage? The Louise Sudler Prizes for Excellence in the Performing and Creative Arts are awarded to two outstanding seniors, Mary Chandler Gwynn of Sabre College and Maisie Louise Mattia of Brantford College. Mary Chandler Gwynn is a dancer and choreographer with intelligence, versatility, and vision. Her work has an intense quality of listening. She is a quiet observer of life's rhythms with a deep understanding of gesture. Known for her sensitivity and receptivity toward all aspects of the art and her fellow artists, she sees and uses dancers for who they are and how they move. She is also a scientist. She graduates cum laude with distinction in her major, molecular biophysics and biochemistry, And with her keen attention to the details of phenomena that fall beyond language, she bridges science and the arts, the scientific laboratory and the dance studio. For her ambitious and continually deepening body of dances, and for her future artistic promise, Yale College is delighted to award the Louis Sadler Prize for Excellence in the Creative and Performing Arts to Mary Chandler Gwynn. Maisie Louise Mattia is a writer who majors in literature, thinks about literature, dreams about literature, and will undoubtedly contribute to literature. One of her professors describes her writing as dazzling in its virtuosity, complexity, and originality. Another calls it genuinely brilliant. Her friends and teachers know May as someone who has read everything, who misses meals because she has gotten caught up in a book, who, when she talks about Virginia Woolf, makes you feel that Woolf is not just alive, but is about to walk into the room. May, who graduates cum laude, has already completed 2 novels, and next year she will pursue an MFA in creative writing at Hunter College. For her exceptional talent and her future promise, Yale College is delighted to award the Louis Sadler Prize for Excellence in the Creative and Performing Arts to Maisie Louise Mattia. Erica Eleanor Lynn Green, will you please come up to the stage? The Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize for the senior majoring in the humanities, who ranks highest in scholarship, is awarded this year to Erica Lynn Green of Grace Hopper College. Erica Eleanor Lynn Green has balanced her passion for the humanities with her deep interest in bioethics and the disparities in health and healthcare. In her role as the advocacy chair of the Yale Hunger and Homeless Action Project, she helped launch the founding team for a Yale student-run youth shelter in New Haven. Elected to Phi Beta Kappa in her junior year, Ms. Lynn Green was awarded a Marshall Scholarship last December. She graduates summa cum laude with distinction in her major, English. She will pursue degrees in global health systems theory and policy, as well as development and global health at Queen Mary, University of London. In recognition of her extraordinary achievements, Yale College is proud to award the Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize this year to Erica Eleanor Lynn Green. Martin Lim, please come up to the stage. The Arthur Twining Hadley Prize, which honors the memory of the man who served as president of Yale from 1899 to 1921, is awarded annually to the senior in Yale College majoring in the social sciences who ranks highest in scholarship. This year, the Hadley Prize is awarded to Martin Lim of Berkeley College. Martin Lim was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in his junior year and graduates summa cum laude with distinction in both his majors, economics and chemistry. He is also the recipient of the Bishop Barclay Prize given by Berkeley College to the student who best discovered the intellectual potentialities of a university. He has served as a member of Berkeley College Council, as first-year captain of Berkeley Intramurals, and as Berkeley College first-year counselor. As a peer tutor for the chemistry department, he has helped other Yale students succeed, and he has studied in Japan as a Richard Light Fellow. He has served his country holding the rank of Corporal First Class as a combat engineer in the Singapore Armed Forces. To recognize his academic excellence, Yale College proudly awards the Arthur Twining Hadley Prize to Martin Lim. Lionel Jin, will you please come up to the stage? The Russell Henry Chittenden Prize is awarded annually for the senior majoring in the natural sciences or in mathematics who ranks highest in scholarship. This year's prize is awarded to Lionel Jin of, Grace Hopper College. Sorry. Lionel Jin was awarded Yale's Hartman Lyman Prize last year as the junior with the best record of intellectual and social accomplishment. He was named to Phi Beta Kappa for his junior year, and he graduates summa cum laude with a joint master's degree in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, and with distinction in both the intensive track of molecular biology and in computer science. Thank you. Lionel was recently selected as a Schwarzman Scholar, and after graduation, he plans to work in the technology industry and build products that will transform the way we live. In recognition of his extraordinary record and his promise of future success, Yale College proudly confers the Russell Henry Chittenden Prize this year upon Lionel Jin. Junyan Chua, will you please come up to the stage? The Alpheus Henry Snow Prize is awarded to that senior who, through the combination of intellectual achievement, character, and personality, shall be adjudged by the faculty to have done the most for Yale by inspiring in his or her classmates an admiration and love for the best traditions of high scholarship. This year, the Snow Prize is awarded to Junyan Chua of Saybrook College. Junyan Chua graduates summa cum laude with exceptional distinction in his major, history. Yen has received the Hubbard Curtis Prize for Excellence in English, a Tan Yike Prize for Public Speaking, and an invitation by Sterling Memorial Library to curate the exhibit, Sociologists with a Conscience, Raymond Kennedy and the Making of the Global United States. Yen's instructors agree that he has deeply researched and powerfully argued papers on the history of colonial regulation in Singapore, the country of his birth, South Africa, and more broadly, the British Empire and the Chinese diaspora, have made stunningly original historiographic interventions whose significance is unheard of for an undergraduate. As a first-year counselor in Saybrook, he has supported new undergraduates, helping them make their place at Yale. In his last column as opinion editor for the Yale Daily News, he encouraged future Yalees to think of themselves as being in time, as recognizing how the past shapes them and how they shape the present and the future. His contributions to broader communities are about to begin, but for those he has made to Yale, Yale College takes great pleasure in bestowing the Alpheus Henry Snow Prize upon Junyan Chua.
President Sullivan, Dean Chun, Secretary Clinton, esteemed administrators and faculty, Yale friends and family, and members of the class of 2018. The day has finally come.
We are proud to be here, delivering the valedictory address.
Ben, we're not the valedictorians.
What?
You got a D in medical Spanish.
That was one flub.
Okay, you barely passed a class called Vikings exclamation point.
How did you know that? Question mark.
You took a class called Plants and People, and you still can't tell which is which.
Okay. That's enough, you talking ficus.
Anyway, we are just here as two members of the senior class, offering our reflections on 4 remarkable years at Yale.
Okay, yes. And although we're getting ready to leave, this place has provided us with some things that will last us long after college. Indelible memories, unforgettable experiences, and amazing relationships.
But these things can't last forever.
I'm sorry, what?
As our 4 bright college years draw to a close, we as the class of 2018 now prepare for a new journey. Life after graduation will be daunting, but we will face these new opportunities head on.
Head on together.
Together in a sense, but in another sense decidedly apart.
What is happening?
Look, we're here today to recognize that as we prepare to take the next steps in our young adult lives, we may find ourselves moving away from the ties we made on this campus.
Hey, is there something you want to talk about?
There is.
Oh, God.
And that thing is Yale.
Oh, good.
And how Yale is a metaphor for our relationship.
Oh,
Shedding light on our 4 years here, it's clear that we've grown as individuals. We loved Yale. But like any love, it eventually comes time to say goodbye. The new chapter is beckoning.
Yeah, but still, in many ways, we should keep that old chapter with us, right? I mean, we really liked the old chapter. It was great. College, woohoo! Ben, woohoo! Right?
Yale was wonderful, and while we'll always cherish the memories we made here, we must also make room in our hearts for the journeys ahead.
And just to play devil's advocate for a second, we don't have to stop loving Yale.
As we take the next steps,
Everyone's like, oh, Yale, you're so wonderful. We love how you're always singing and dancing and how good you look in blue.
and you look forward to new horizons.
I mean, Yale might not be the most well-endowed, but it is up there.
Look. Listen. Look. We need to open ourselves to new opportunities.
Exactly what new opportunities?
Do you really want to do this here?
Do you? It sort of seems like you do. And in front of Hillary?
Listen, we need to flirt with
Here we go.
various professional fields.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
We need to embrace
Who are you embracing?
the uncertainty of being a postgrad in today's world.
True. Okay.
And we need to let ourselves be seduced
Who
by
is it? Is it Anders the football star?
Anders the football star, yes. Yes, it is. Anders the football star. Yes.
I called it.
Look, Yale was an incredible part of our lives, but now it's time to go. Our minds are made up, and we're ready to go.
Well, I guess there's not much left to say. Maybe we should leave Yale behind. Maybe these 4 years are just a time for us to look back on. But But you know what? As I look out on this sea of potted plants, I'm realizing that I'm not ready to give up on Yale. And you shouldn't be either. So I'm gonna win her back the only way I know how, by continuing to extend this already played out metaphor. Yale is like any relationship or any friendship. Think back to when you were first seeking it out and hoping it would happen. Think about the way it finally came to be and changed you and shaped you and allowed you to shape it in turn. Think about the way that this class in particular shaped Yale back, challenging it to be warmer and brighter than it was when you first met. So don't give up on Yale. Don't leave these days behind. And when you're looking back years... Is she right behind me? With Anders the football star? I mean, yeah, I get it. Here's to the class of 2018.
My name's Sarah Armstrong, and I'm the secretary for the class of 2018.
I'm Julia Feldstein, and I'm the treasurer for the class of 2018.
Today, we celebrate traditions that have been performed by thousands of undergraduates who have come before us. These traditions link us to almost 2 centuries of Yale graduates. When Class Day began, there were about as many seniors then as there are now in one of the smaller residential colleges. On the day before commencement in 1869, all the seniors sat in a circle. They sang songs, read poems, heard nostalgic and amusing talks, and at the end of the day, smoked clay pipes together. Seniors, if you look in your gift bags, you will find a clay pipe without tobacco to keep as a link to the past and a memento of this day. And we know what you're thinking. These pipes would be great for blowing bubbles. We agree, and we included some bubble solution in the bag.
Beginning in 1851, graduating classes have also planted a sprig of ivy somewhere on campus, symbolic of the enduring nature of the friendships made at Yale. This year's ivy was planted on Phelps Gate, nearby the engraved stone that bears our class year. Both the ivy and the stone will be a reminder of the class of 2018 for those entering and leaving campus.
This year, we continue a more recent tradition started in 2011. Seniors, each of you have been given in your gift bag an anthology, a short collection of works written by our peers. This booklet contains the odes and speeches you hear from our classmates today, as well as those written by the finalists for these positions. The booklet honors them and serves as memories of our bright college years.
Before today's festivities end with the singing of our alma mater and the waving of white handkerchiefs, we will view a twist on an old tradition. Since 2007, the class history has been delivered as a short film rather than a series of speeches. Written, produced, and directed by our peers, a copy of this short film, which speaks to change at Yale, will be preserved in the collections of the Beinecke Library and, of course, can be found on YouTube. Today, we pay homage to the rich traditions that characterize this exciting time in our lives. We hope that you enjoy these traditions, that they strengthen the ties between friends, and serve as a reminder for the experiences we have shared.
We also want to thank you all for really making Yale feel like more of a home than a school. Julie and I have been involved in class-wide events since our first year, and every time our community comes together, we are blown away by how deeply our classmates care about each other and how much fun we have together. We can't wait to see these friendships continue to grow and thrive after graduation. We're already planning the 5-year reunion.
We begin now with the Ivy Ode. In older days, the ode was a poem in Latin Sapphic stanzas. As the world of poetry has extended, so have the forms and subject matter of the Ivy Odes. Today, Ajwa Bwedu will read her spoken word poem, The Fractal Salutation.
Let us hail everything that shattered. Yes, hail to everything that shattered. Hail to the day we realized how truly big the world was, the day we learned the magnitude of 7 billion. Hail to the dawns that bled to dusk and once more to dawn, and hail to the little we could show for them. Hail to the destruction of our brilliance. Hail to the disbelief, the horrid shock that we weren't as immune to failure as we believed. Hail our stubbornness to accept it. Hail to every unspoken word we suppressed, and hail to every spoken word we mishandled. Hail to the dreams we were so close to, the ones our fingers were lucky enough to touch just before they were ripped out of our hands. Hail to the inevitable periods of smallness. Hail to every time we fought to be heard and were smothered and blocked out and overshadowed. Why, you may ask, am I pressing a salted thumb on the wounds we choose to bury, to suffocate, to forget? Why am I forcing to light the choice, open secret that we were never always truly happy? I can only answer this by asking you, who do you think you would be without the pain? Hail to the adults that we are, though we may deny it. Hail to the faces only brightened by the tears that trace them. Hail to the forgiveness that can only make sense by knowing anger. Hail to the voices that have been strengthened because they felt silence. Hail to the sweetness of success that needed to follow failure. My friends, hail to us all, our kaleidoscopic collection that has learned to walk by light and truth. And hail to the world that we hope will soon be ready for us. Thank you.
Hello, class of 2018. I'm Alec Rodriguez, and I'm the producer of the Class Day film this year, and our film is entitled Perfect Timing. On behalf of all of the crew and cast, we hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
WABC, New Haven. Sunny remainder of today, high of 49, then cloudy tonight, low 31, cloudy tomorrow, high of 52. Bridgeport now, 48, 43, 43.
October 19th, 1978. Equations are almost done, and meeting with advisor at 3:30, and oh crap. Carmen Rodas, theoretical physicist, out. Professor Stevens, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize
That you're 20 minutes late? Or that your senior thesis is absurd? Time travel? This isn't Harvard. We don't do half-baked pseudoscience here.
We have a psychology department.
That's beside the point. You would need a massive intergalactic disruption to create a wormhole of that magnitude. Giving you 1 week to come up with another proposal. Thank you.
Dylan 78. Should have credit deed. Carmen Rodas out.
Over 5 million of the over 15 million books in Yale's library collection, so a lot of books. But before we head inside and check it on the interior, do you want to check to see if you guys have any questions that I can help with?
What year is it? I'm sorry, what year are you?
Oh, I'm a senior. I'm class of 2018. Welcome to Yale, where students get a world-class education.
I just want to piggyback off what Emma just said,
but I'd really like to hone in on passage from page 1 of the reading.
No. What if we just rejected capitalism?
This is Polly Murray College.
Who's Paul Murray?
No, Polly Murray. She was a civil rights activist and the first black woman to have a residential college named after her.
That's incredible. Who's the other one named after? Oh, comics.
Kind of. It's called the Schwartzman Center now, actually. Imagine. Let's go. And that concludes our tour. Does anyone have any last questions?
What's that?
So you're telling me that you traveled from 1978 using a time machine from your senior essay, powered by a comet, got stuck in 2018, and ripped a hole in the space-time continuum that's now going to consume all of Yale?
Yes.
And why should I believe you?
Because if you don't, Yale will be destroyed.
I
need to figure out how to jumpstart my time machine and reverse this black hole.
Professor Stevens was right. I can't do this.
You traveled 40 years into the future. I mean, if you can do that, you can fix this.
No, I don't think so. I've tried everything. I think that we need to warn people before it's too late.
Excuse me, we need to see the president immediately.
To meet with the president, you have to schedule a meeting at least 2 months in advance via email.
Listen, it's a matter of life and death. Yale is going to be destroyed.
Well then, you need to send a formal request to the Committee on Cosmic Catastrophes, which will send their final decision to the Committee to establish principles on preventing cosmic catastrophes.
How are we going to warn people?
I have an idea. Meet me on WLH in 2 hours.
Professor Stevens?
I'm sorry, my office hours are... Carmen? Rudis? I've been expecting you for a long time, but I didn't know where in time you'd land.
I jumped 40 years, and I think that I opened some kind of black hole, and
There's one possible solution. 1 kilogram of active cellovanium, which is a rare and highly unstable isotope, might be able to jumpstart your time machine and move the black hole to a different spatial location.
You mean
I mean, push it somewhere else, preferably to a dark and desolate and cold and irrelevant corner of the universe.
Okay, I know what I need to do. I'm gonna save Yale. Quick question though. Can I get an A on that thesis?
Your thesis is 40 years late.
Okay, totally understand. Sorry. Oh, also, where do I get salivanium?
I mean, it's obvious, isn't it?
Mr. President, I really need to talk to you.
Young lady, you need an
It's
appointment.
it's okay. Let her in.
Peter Salovey? Bluegrass legend? What are you? Sorry. Mr. President, I need salivanium so that I can save Yale from being swallowed up from a massive black hole.
You can have it, but under one condition.
We don't have time for this. We're in tech.
I second that. How can you have a Popeye study break without Popeyes?
I'm sorry, I lied. There's no Popeyes. What? I called you all here because Yale as we know it will cease to exist. Yeah, a giant black hole is going to destroy all of Yale. And the rest of the world, I guess. So, yeah.
school now. I haven't even used all my credit days.
Oh my god. Let's grab a meal before Yale's completely destroyed.
Of course. Just check my GCal real quick. So how about this Saturday?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. No, I have a Capella retreat that day. Sunday.
Yeah, we can.
I have society. I'm so sorry. How about I just send you a doodle poll instead? Is that okay? Okay. I'll see you.
Hey guys, I'm here with the Yo Daily News, and I was hoping to get a quick comment on the impending doom.
Black hole? Oh my gosh!
No.
Stop. Yale is fine. We are okay. What we wanted to announce instead is that, Peter Salve's Bluegrass Band will be playing Saturday at College Street Music Hall, and tickets go online today. It was salivanium all along. Highly powerful radioactive isotope.
Well, this is it. You saved Yale.
Yeah, just have to fire up the time machine and it should reverse the black hole.
And then I'll see you in
40 years?
when you're a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Yeah. It would be much easier if I got to stay in 2018.
What do you mean?
Don't worry about it.
May 11th, 1975. Freshman year's been a rush. I've been meeting so many new people from all over the country and all over the world. I can't believe I get to call this place my home for 3 more years. Yale isn't perfect, but I have a feeling me and my friends are going to change it and the world. Maybe you're busy being a world-famous physicist now and don't remember any of this, but I hope this feeling never wore off.
This is it.
Congratulations, class of 2018.
Congratulations, class of 2018. We're here, we're waiting for you with welcome arms and hope.
Class of 2018, congratulations. Listen, you've taken the test, you've taken the exams, you made relationships, you've broken up, you've had your heart swell, you've had it broken, you've done everything. Now, what's left? Graduate, walk the walk, find your passion, follow it, dream, and remember, it is your time.
Everyone, please take out your white handkerchiefs and rise to join us in Yale's alma mater, Bright College Years.
Bright college years with pleasure rife, the shortest, gladdest years of life. How swiftly are ye gliding by! Oh, why doth time so quickly fly? The seasons come, the seasons go. The earth is green or white with snow. But time and change shall not avail to break the friendships formed at Yale. In after years should troubles rise to cloud the blue of sunny skies, how bright will seem through memory's haze those happy golden bygone days. Oh, let us strive that ever we may let these words our watch cry be. Whereupon thy seal we sail, for God, for country, and for
Is it on? Yeah.